All right, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with Morning Live. Now, the raging storms that has struck major parts of South Africa the past week has wreaked havoc and destroyed structures, homes and cars. This resulted in more insurance claims than usual, but has also left many claimants feeling frustrated as their policies does not cover the damages occurred during the storm. Joining us this morning is Hannes Bester, Assistant Ombudsman for short-term insurances, and he will school us a little bit as to what to be on the lookout for if you're a policyholder. Good morning to you and thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Live, Hannes.
Morning, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much indeed. I think the most important question here is to tell us about the mistakes that us as consumers make when we take up short-term insurances.
Right, I would say first and foremost, the mistakes that the consumers make is that when they take out cover and they receive the policy wording, what usually happens to that policy wording? You take it, you get it via post or email, and well, I'm actually guilty of that as well. I put it in my drawer, I don't read it.
Yeah, I think it's all of us who don't.
Yeah, now I'm
also
covered.
That fine print.
Yeah, as well as the fine print. I mean, that is especially the most important part or sections of a policy agreement that you need to have a look at. If you don't understand the fine print, especially in that regard, phone your insurer, phone your broker. That's what they are there for. Make sure that you know what you are covered for, what you are not covered for. Because remember, a policy it provides you cover in terms of insured perils, but it also excludes certain stuff. Yeah. So make sure that you know that, listen, I'm actually covered for storm, like has happened in the recent events, but also what is excluded specifically. And I think that's where the most miscommunication involves.
Because I was also reading a report last night that there's been an increase in the number of cases of damage caused by these weather conditions. So it is important to understand what you covered for and to what extent your policy covers. And many consumers seem to be surprised to find that they're not insured for certain things when they submit a claim. So how is that particular cover determined from insurance companies? How do they go about determining what's covered, what's included and what's excluded?
Okay, if they're surprised that they're not covered in terms of the claims, and let's say a claim gets rejected, what needs to be done is, again, I'm referring back to what the policy says, because that is actually the agreement that exists between insured and insurer. Mostly the insurer will say, listen, you are covered for, and then it will list certain insured events or insured perils as they call it. Now, if that is not the proximate cause to the loss of your property, the insurer won't cover that because they're only covered for a listed amount of insured perils. So the consumers need to have a look out for that as well when they submit a claim in the event of a disaster or for a storm or hail damage and so forth, etc.
And I once overheard a conversation, some ladies were talking, I think it was when we had the hailstorm here in Gauteng. Right. This other one was basically saying that my insurance company tells me that I'm not covered for natural disasters and acts of God. So it actually got me thinking, what falls under acts of God and natural disasters? How do they go about determining that?
Well, I think in terms of the definition of what is an act of God, act of nature, it is something that happens that stems from let's say, weather conditions, like a storm, like a tornado, like hail. I'm actually surprised that you mentioned the fact that one insurance company do not cover
natural disasters.
Acts of God. I'd like to know who that is because, across our desk that we get every day, most insurers do cover acts of God and acts of nature, like that has happened in the past few days in Joburg and in Durban.
And one important issue, I think it's the issue of excess, whereby you told about thresholds, your excess. I've had a problem last week personally. How is this excess on insurance policies determined? What do they look into?
Well, firstly, most insurers or the insurers' policies will tell you there's a basic excess that is applicable. Now, this is usually when it starts at sale stage, when the policy gets sold. However, if you go further into the policy, there's additional excesses that is applicable. Let's say, for instance, it's a certain percentage of the market value of your property that is in addition to the basic excess. And, if you add those together, it will amount to a huge amount of excess that you need you have to pay. So I would say that when the consumer speaks to the insurer and wants to take out cover on a policy, ask them about the additional excesses
Yeah.
Because the insurer might apply all those additional excesses
But
at the
they
end
never
of the day.
tell you. Yeah, they
Exactly.
never verbally tell you, but it's contained on documents.
Yes, if they're actually obliged to tell you about the excess at sale stage, so that you are aware of the additional information, so that you can make an informed decision whether you want to accept that agreement or not.
Yeah.
So the excess is very important in that aspect.
Your final message to consumers.
Like I said in the beginning, read your policy. Don't worry, there's some good news. The acts of nature and acts of God are covered in most of the policies. So submit your claim and let the insurer, assess the claim and take the process.
But do you come across complaints from claimants who are not satisfied as to how the insurance companies handle their claims? If we take a look at what happened in Knysna, the fires, the current storms, have you received any complaints as it is now?
It's a bit too early for us to have received complaints
For
from
the
the Knysna
storms.
fires,
Okay.
but I'm sure they will be coming. In that regard, we will then just go to the insurer and say to the insurer, listen, here's a complaint. What is your story? Can you substantiate your rejection of the claim? And then they will write back to us and say, okay, well, here's the reasons why we rejected the claim. Yes, we do have such claims.
All right, Hannes, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for talking to us here on Morning Live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, there you have it. That's Hannes Best, Assistant Ombudsman for short-term insurance, talking to us about what you need to be on the lookout for. Most importantly, you need to read those policies that you have, more so your fine prints. All right, now it's 25 minutes after 7 o'clock.